All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining this morning. I do want to note before we get started, we'll be recording this webinar to share with a wider audience after we are done, especially for some legislators who had previous commitments this morning but wanted to attend. We'd like to be able to share this with those folks. So welcome and good morning. My name is Casey McCabe. I am the coordinator of the New Hampshire Retirement Security Coalition. On behalf of myself and the partners of the coalition, we very much appreciate you joining us this morning. How our time will run today is I will give you a quick overview of the coalition, our mission, who we are, the work we do, and how we do it. And then each partner of the table will introduce themselves, their organization, their members, so you can get to know them and who they represent, as well as they will share with you all some retirement specific information and legislative priorities. We will leave time at the end to take questions. So please feel free to use the Q&A on the Zoom, and then we will follow up and take those at the end. So to begin, here we go. Here is who we are. So here are the current partners of the New Hampshire Retirement Security Coalition. These are the unions, organizations, and associations that represent public employees and retirees who are members of the New Hampshire retirement system. We have existed as a coalition since 2007, 2008. And our mission is to focus solely on protecting the structure and solvency of the New Hampshire retirement system and the public pensions that support thousands of retirees, small businesses, and middle-class families. And we do this in a variety of ways, which I will go over shortly. We really are very much a organic and grassroots coalition who work under a consensus model, with our focus being tracking and advocating on all retirement specific legislation in the New Hampshire legislature. What we do and how we do it. What we do is we advocate, we strategize, we educate, and we mobilize. Retirement specific legislation has really been a focus, often sometimes more frequently in certain legislative years than others, but it's really been something that's been a forefront issue over the past 10 years here in New Hampshire. And so what we really try to do is work to provide fact-based information and research to inform the legislature on the long-term impact of decisions that you all are making at the State House, and really to understand the impact of those decisions on the membership, the local economy, and the small businesses around the state. We try to provide information to highlight that the decisions made regarding retirement and retirement security for our public employees and retirees has to be looked at in 20 or 30 or 40-year impacts. We try to provide information and research that shows that what one small decision made in a year or 2-year biennium could mean in 20 or 30 years for our public employees, and the buying power for our retirees in keeping up with inflation. And so what we really want you to take away from this morning is that we're a resource for you collectively as a coalition, and then individually as partners. Trying to recreate a meet and greet opportunity virtually is what we're trying to do today, so that you can get to know the faces and the names of the folks that you can go to when you have questions or seeking further information about retirement and retirement specific legislation. We're here to provide information, answer questions, and really most importantly, give you real life context to the members and the membership that you impact when you make decisions regarding retirement and retirement security here in New Hampshire. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to the partners to introduce themselves individually, get to provide some information about their membership, and then just highlight a few specific retirement items that we feel would be helpful for you all to know. So with that, I will begin to hand it over to our members.
Thank you, Casey. Good morning. My name is John Colloy. I'm the Assistant Director of Legislation and Political Action for AFSCME Council 93. We represent over 2,300 members across the state of Massachusetts. We provide the vital public services our communities rely on day in and day out. We're county healthcare workers, we're school support staff, DPW workers, public safety professionals. Frankly, a lot of our members do the behind the scenes work that you don't notice, but makes our communities go. And I'd like to talk about our retirement issues. To be able to provide quality public services, we need to be able to attract and retain quality public employees. Last year, the coalition surveyed thousands of members, and over 90% of the respondents agreed that eliminating pensions for public sector employees would weaken the ability of local governments to be able to attract, retain those quality employees, thus impacting the ability to provide quality public services. As such, we oppose legislation that makes cuts to the hard-earned retirement benefits of our members. Cutting retirement benefits of our members, it's not only bad for the members in the pension system, but bad for the state as a whole. On a similar note, this is a more local issue, but Council 93 is strongly opposed to HB 211, raises the retirement rates and retirement age and contribution rates for our members in the Manchester City retirement system. We disagree with any efforts that unfairly shifts any additional amount of funding or liability onto the backs of our members, even those that aren't even hired yet. We want to be able to provide quality public services, and to do that, we need quality public employees. Thank you very much, and look forward to speaking with you.
Great, thanks, John.
Good morning. My name is Terry Donovan. I'm the Director of Collective Bargaining and Field Services at the American Federation of Teachers in New Hampshire. We're the state affiliate for the National American Federation of Teachers, and a proud member of the New Hampshire AFL-CIO as part of that relationship. We proudly represent more than 3,700 public and private sector employees in New Hampshire. You know them as teachers in your local school districts, paraeducators, most other school employee positions, custodians, secretaries, cafeteria personnel, these folks that have had one incredible year. I don't think that we'll ever be able to pay them a debt of gratitude that we owe them for the work that they have done for our children and communities. We're also very pleased to represent town and municipal employees, such as police officers, emergency personnel, public librarians, and public works employees, along with our private sector local at Franklin Pierce College in Rindge. We've joined in as a stakeholder with this coalition to make sure that we support the efforts to protect the retirement system for our members. And I think also to educate. This time of year is a particular challenge. If you live in the cities and in our towns or school districts where people will be going to the polls, voting on very challenging budgets, one of those items that they'll see is the retirement system and the costs that are being passed down to our communities. And we hope part of this effort will help you as legislators educate the community on how important the retirement system is. As my colleague from AFSCME said, in recruiting and retaining good public employees, teachers, police officers, in many of those areas where we do have a hiring crisis on the forefront. And one of those things we'd like to share is that retirement benefits in New Hampshire are extremely modest. Average annual benefit about $20,800, and in New Hampshire, and for teachers, that would be about $22,000. So we hope that you can share that information. And we think that New Hampshire is one of the most affordable systems compared to the national average with, as a percentage of payroll, the national average is about 5.9%, but in New Hampshire, the average is about 2.7% of payroll. So thank you for the work you're doing this very difficult legislative session.
Thanks, Terry.
Good morning. I apologize. I've been back and forth on my phone to my computer. The wind is knocking internet out. So I apologize for that. And my dog's probably barking in the background because of the wind. But anyway, I am Megan Tuttle. I'm president for NEA New Hampshire. We represent about 17,000 educators across the state. And those educators include teachers, paraprofessionals, custodians, food service workers, secretaries, aides. It runs the whole gamut of the ESP family. I also was an 18-year social studies teacher in 8th grade. I couldn't seem to get out of it. I'm a mom of 3 boys in Concord. They all attend public schools, mom of a French bulldog. So it's interesting here. So our membership, as Terry said, you know, we also have K-12 and it runs the whole gamut. Our children in the schools really benefit from experienced educators in the system, in the classroom, and the pension system is a really important component for that. Especially since the average teacher and support professional salaries are very modest. If you look at some of what they are across the state. I'm not going to go through everything that Terry said because she went through a lot, and we have the same priorities and agree the same way. But our priorities this year, we want to continue to strengthen the retirement system, and for our members and for the taxpayers, we want to continue to pay down the unfunded liability, ensure that it's a tool to attract and retain the most qualified educators for our children. We want to fix the disparities with respect to different benefit structures and support our retirees and future retirees with a funded COLA. And so those are things we're really looking at. You're probably going to hear from Brian Hawkins as well, not just myself, who is the GR director at NEA New Hampshire. And so I'm sure you'll see him at hearings or on calls if you haven't seen or heard him already. Thank you.
Thanks, Megan.
Good morning. My name's Laura Morgan, and I take it to heart that a union is its members, and I am a full-time teacher at the community college system, and I'm here to speak for our group. NHHEU is a division of IBEW Local 2320, and Jim Golden, the business manager, is also here this morning on the panel to represent the group. We are the small group in the coalition, but that doesn't mean we're not important. We represent all the full-time faculty in the community college system. And I'm sure you've heard in the news lately, we seem to be in the news lately, that we have 7 community colleges and they're throughout the entire state. And although we are a system of colleges, each college serves its diverse community. The community in the North Country is different than the community Nashua, different than the Seacoast, and of course, all the way over to the River Valley. We have a difficult job usually because we are trying to do 2 things at the same time. We're trying to get our students ready to go to work and students to transfer to 4-year universities. So we have to keep lean and mean so that we can adjust to what is thrown at us, which is always something. I don't know, I think with the pandemic, we were like, well, yeah, it's just another thing that we have to figure out because that's what we do. What's very important to the full-time faculty in the community college system is the pension system that they were promised. We vie with another state, but normally we're the lowest paid community college professors in the nation. So our benefits are supposed to outweigh that. And when the pension plan was was under attack, we became very concerned about that. And we want to make sure that the pension system stays viable and is robust. And the only way that can occur is that we keep on having new employees enter the pension system and not have them peel out into some other retirement system. So we are looking to support responsible legislation that will support the New Hampshire retirement system and those full-time faculty in the community college system that are in all of the communities throughout the state. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. So Sandy Amlaw, the president of the New Hampshire Retired Educators Association, is unfortunately without power, without water, without internet this morning. So she had asked for me to just cover her portion of the presentation. So the New Hampshire Retired Educators Association represents approximately 2,500 members. They are retired educators, which includes teachers, administrators, and support professionals. From a retirement perspective, cost of living adjustments are extremely important to the retired educators members. For folks who are new to the legislature, in 2019, we were able to pass a cost of living adjustment for our retirees, the first that they had seen in nearly 10 years. This was a very modest COLA, 1.5% on the first 50,000 of a benefit. And you can see from the percentages here, was a small increase to their monthly benefit. 38% of retirees will receive 375 or less, 25% 750 or less, and 29% of retirees will receive $150 or less increase to their benefit. This cost of living adjustment began to take place July 1st of 2020 and was given to retirees on the anniversary of their retirement date. So we are still in the midst of that cost of living adjustment being provided to the retirees for the next year, basically until June of 2021, will all retirees be able to receive this cost of living adjustment. And cost of living adjustments are obviously a very important aspect to ensuring retiree buying power, that buying power keeps up with inflation in order for the retirees who committed their life to public service are able to continue to retire in dignity and have access to retirement security for their lifetime. So I will now hand it over to the School Administrators Association.
Thank you, Casey. Good morning. My name is Jerry Frew, and I'm the Associate Executive Director of New Hampshire School Administrators, the other small group involved in the coalition. Carl Ladd is our Executive Director. Carl was called away to a WMUR interview this morning, so you're stuck with the JV squad for this presentation. I've been in New Hampshire education for 45 years now. Ranging from being a teacher and a coach to assistant principal, assistant superintendent, and now I'm thrilled to be serving the superintendents, assistant superintendents, business administrators, curriculum directors, and special educators in the state. We are a small membership group, as I said, and our priorities we bring a rather unique perspective to the coalition because we experience both the member side and the management side. Our members rely on those COLAs for their existence, for their years of service to the state, on their retirement. Yet also, as others have alluded to, as Terry and Megan have alluded to, in school district budgets, we're the ones standing before our local publics explaining the retirement system and the advantage of having high quality retirement systems so that we attract and retain high quality educators in our state, the most important job that we have. So for those reasons, it's a pleasure to speak with you this morning. We hope that any questions that you may have as legislators, you will feel free to reach out to our association. The retirement piece is one piece that we do, and school choice and school vouchers is another piece that we're working on as we speak. So thank you for your attention this morning, and appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Jerry.
Good morning. My name is Mark Bodwin. I'm a retired sergeant from the New Hampshire State Police, and I am the current executive director of the New Hampshire Troopers Association. We represent approximately 350 troopers. That includes the ranks all the way from the newly hired troopers up through the rank of captain. Our primary job is to provide law enforcement services throughout the state of New Hampshire. In the rural areas, we tend to provide more of a primary law enforcement service. In the more populated areas, you'll see us more on the highways, but we also provide a lot of support services with the various units that we have, such as an aircraft unit, our major crime unit, our drug unit. There's a variety of units that are specialized. One of the concerns that we have with the retirement system is the ability for it to recruit and retain troopers. Currently, right now, we are down over 30 troopers, and for an organization our size, that's a significant amount. And trying to recruit and retain the best isn't easy. The retirement system originally was one of the important recruiting tools. I can tell you personally, it was one of the reasons that kept me in the state. Back when I was a brand new trooper, I had a couple of years on the job, I had the opportunity to go to the FBI. One of the reasons I stayed was because of the retirement system and my ability to retire after 20 years of service. So it is important to us. Another aspect that is important to us as well is trying to maintain the system and also eventually returning benefits to the system and some COLAs. So with that, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your service to the state. And if there's anything I can do to help you in the future, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Good morning. My name is Brian Rill. I'm a captain with the Portsmouth Fire Department, and I am the president of the Professional Firefighters of New Hampshire. We represent 42 local unions and approximately 2,000 active and retired professional firefighters throughout New Hampshire. As the preeminent organization that represents firefighters, we promote and protect all issues that range from health and safety to retirement security. And one of the issues that I wanted to bring up this morning were the sweeping changes that many of you are familiar with that took place within the retirement system in 2011. And essentially what that did was it created a three-tiered system for our members and significantly cut a retirement benefit that was promised to them upon hire. And our members feel that the restoration of this benefit is extremely important for a number of reasons. When you look at the hazardous nature of the fire service and in more recent news having to combat cancer and post-traumatic stress disorder and things of the like, it is far more difficult to recruit and retain members, and a healthy pension benefit is one of those things that helps us continue to do that. Just anecdotally, in 2010, prior to the changes that occurred within the retirement system, we had 459 members that applied to take the firefighting entrance exam. And most recently in 2020, that number dropped to 215. And since the changes in 2011, that number was trending down dramatically. And now we're finding it far more difficult to recruit and retain members because of the benefit changes that happened in 2011. So what's also important to note is the economic impact that has on New Hampshire. For each dollar that a member receives in a retirement benefit, it equates to $1.40 in an economic activity in New Hampshire, which is significant. In addition to that, for each dollar that is invested by a New Hampshire retiree, equates to about $6.33 in total economic activity in New Hampshire. So while it seems the right thing to do to restore benefits for these members as they were promised upon hire, it also seems like the economic benefit for New Hampshire is there as well. So we look forward to trying to get back to a place where we can work towards restoring some of those benefits, and look forward to working with the legislator to get that done. Thank you all for all you do and all the hard work you put in at the state level.
Thanks, Brian.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. My name is Richard Gulla. I am president of the State Employees Association, SEIU Local 1984. We represent approximately 10,000 active employees around the state, county, municipal levels, from highway maintainers to child protective service workers, to police officers in Littleton and Bedford, to higher ed educations at Plymouth State University, and the list goes on and on. We also represent approximately 1,500 retirees here in the state. And I fully agree with my colleagues about the importance of preserving an annual COLA and the integrity of the pension system for everything that my colleagues have mentioned. But I specifically want to bring to your attention about the Social Security offset, which hits and reduces 10% at the age of 65. Ideally, we'd like to see this go away and eliminated, as people are working much longer and retiring, and it just doesn't make sense to reduce someone's pension at that age. But at the very least, there should be consideration given to changing that to 66 or 67 when folks reach full retirement age. I'm also joined this morning by our new political director, Colin Tiernan, who I'm sure you will be seeing around town, and we're both here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Rich.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rick Lawton. I'm a member of Teamsters Local 633 here in New Hampshire. I've been a member for 43 years. I'm the senior business agent there. I also sit at the PLRB as a labor representative at the Public Employee Labor Relations Board and at the DOL on the Wage and Hour Penalty Appeals Board. Jeff Padalaro is our principal officer. Here in New Hampshire, we represent over 5,000 members total and right around 1,400 in the public sector. We have 50 contracts or so in the public sector. And the reason I'm saying that is people want to know what the Teamsters are doing in the public sector. We're not just truck drivers and UPS workers. I mean, we are the prison guards at the state prisons. We are the court security officers when you go to a district court or the Supreme Court. Obviously, various police and sheriff's departments, county corrections. We're the principals in the largest school district in the state. We're the principals in Manchester, elsewhere. When you land at the Manchester airport, we're the guys that plow the runway. We're even the librarians in Rochester and Manchester. The reason we're on here is a couple of reasons. One of them, first of all, is the Manchester House Bill 211, which affects the Manchester retirement issues. And we absolutely are supporting our members that work for the city of Manchester. You're going to hear the same thing. You have heard the same thing over and over again about attracting and retaining people because of our pension plan. One of the biggest things that we hear from our members is, you know, can we maintain what we have? Is there any way we can get back what happened to us in 2011? And it is a big deal. At the state prison, they're spending tens of thousands of hours of overtime every month because they're unfilled, unfunded, and we just can't attract and retain the prison guards for the state prisons in Concord and Berlin. So our members are asking us to reach out to you, and hopefully you will reach back to us and speak about these important issues. And we really appreciate all you do for us in this time. We know that meeting live at the legislature is problematic with some people, but we need people to reach out and help us because we've reached out and helped them over the years. So thank you for everything you do, and I'll make that my report.
Thank you, Rick. And thank you to all the partners. Before we move to the Q&A, I just want to let everybody know where you can find us. We have a website, NewHampshireRetirementFacts.com. We have a Facebook and a Twitter account, which you can follow us and keep up to date there, as well as if you have any questions, when you have questions or need clarification on anything related to retirement, you can email us at info@NHRetirementSecurityCoalition.com. I will be following up with all of the attendees with some PDF materials that we usually hand out in person at these events, but this will sort of summarize everything that we have talked about and provide you some further information regarding retirement issues, information, and some of our priorities. So with that, I will, if anybody has any questions, please use the Q&A and we can take those. if nobody has any questions, that is the completion of our part of the presentation. So we'll stay on for a few moments to see if there are any questions or anybody that would like to get some clarification on what we covered. But like I said, we will, I'll follow up with, oh, wonderful. One of the questions is, what is your most important priority this session? So I'll answer the bill numbers, and then I will ask any of the partners to jump in and sort of clarify or add context to that. You can find all of the legislation that we are tracking during the 2021 legislative session on our website. But I will say House Bill 173, which is moving over to the Senate right now, deals with the Independent Investment Committee and the prioritizing of transparency in their fee and fee structures with their investment professionals, as well as Senate Bill 119, which deals with ordinary death benefits, as well as House Bill 497, which was killed by the entire House last week, which was a bill that removed certain folks out of the retirement system, a precedent we do not want to set, and an issue that we are in full agreement to defeat. So does anybody want to help me out and jump in on some priority of this year?
Casey?
Yes. Yeah, please jump in.
Yes, Laura Morgan from the community college system. Obviously, we're concerned about the combining of the university system and the community college system and how that will impact the community college system's employees' ability to stay within the retirement system when the university system employees are not part of the retirement system. So I hope when they're looking at the budget and the combining of these two systems, that somewhere there's attention paid to the benefits that are associated with those employees and the impact of that combination on those employees.
Thanks, Laura.
Casey?
Yeah.
There are certainly a few bills that are important to the professional firefighters this year, but I think one that's less obvious is one that we've all agreed on at the coalition level, and that was the reporting of fees from the Independent Investment Committee. We looked back on the return on investment, and it seemed to us at the coalition level that was a 1% return on a $9 billion fund was completely unacceptable, and we're looking forward to really digging our heels in here and finding out why that's the case and how we can make this better in the future to make the fund more solvent.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Anyone else want to jump in on that question? We've got a few more, so I can move on unless anybody would like to add to that conversation. All right. Another question is, do we support the full funding of the New Hampshire retirement system? It seems it might be a tactic to eventually eliminate the system and move to a defined contribution plan. I'd be happy to take a quick way to answer that, and then again have any panelists jump in and offer. I would say that, of course, funding the retirement system fully is a necessary thing for New Hampshire to move towards. I think it's also important to note defined benefit plans, because of their pooled investments and long-term outlook, doesn't necessarily need to be at 100% to be a healthy system. I will say, when you look at the cost of providing the same level of benefits that the current system does to a defined contribution plan, when the system is fully funded, it will be a very affordable system. Currently, employers are paying nearly 80% of current employer costs are going to pay down the unfunded liability. Only about 20% of what they actually pay is going to the benefit. So when you look at the cost comparison, to a defined benefit to a defined contribution plan. If municipalities in the state of New Hampshire want to provide the same level of benefit to, again, like we talked about, recruit and retain highly qualified employees that will stay in New Hampshire, the cost analysis of that would be a defined benefit plan is a much more cost-effective way to do that.
Yep. Maybe I'll just add to that, Casey. Brian Hawkins at NEA New Hampshire definitely fully support the fully funding of the New Hampshire retirement system. When the legislature set us on a 30-year plan to pay off the unfunded liability, that was a really important decision that they made, and we fully support continuing to follow that plan so that we can get to a higher funded ratio. And so we were happy to see the House bill that was defeated that would take us off of that course. And we think that, you know, as I said, staying the course on that 30-year plan that goes to 2037 is really critical to not only the public sector workers in the state, but also all the folks who are funding it.
Great, thanks, Brian. Anybody else on that question, DB versus DC plan, or I'll move on to another question. Okay, the system is dependent on investments. The investment projections have been unrealistic for decades. Is there some plan to make this system conform to actuarial reality? Anybody feel free to jump in. I will say the decisions about investments and actuarial projections sits in the New Hampshire retirement system. It's not necessarily a question we can answer about how we could do that, but one of the things, like we've said, we're trying to do is bring transparency and accountability to the Independent Investment Committee and to the New Hampshire retirement system based on those decisions that they're trying to make. Any of the panelists want to jump in on that? Okay. Let me see. Let's see. What is our higher priority, increasing benefits or funding the retirement system? Who wants to take that?
This is Terry from AFT New Hampshire. I think the short answer, and we all have different issues, but I think if the firefighters are correct, I mean, I think we need to, it's not increasing benefits, restoring benefits that we're taking, creating some really an unlevel playing field, you know, and dealing with the same employees working with the same employer, but having different level of retirement benefits. And all anybody needs to do is go to a school district deliberative session and look at the burden, the lack of support for funding the retirement system in any fashion has put on cities and towns. It's been a property tax increase. So for our organization, restoring some of the funding that was lost is a priority as well.
Yeah, Casey, if I could piggyback on that and just echo the fact that we're not looking certainly to increase any benefits here. We're looking to just restore what was taken from our members back in 2011. And I think what's important to remember is it wasn't the employees' fault that the system took a hit. And to try and take away benefits from members to try and fully fund the system is not really the responsible way to go about it.
Thanks, Brian. House Bill 274 recently was ITL'd by the House. It would have shifted some responsibility for funding pensions back to the state. Can you speak to the need for this legislation? So this is an interesting one, and I'll have folks on the panel weigh in. We monitor both this bill and the bill in the Senate. Specifically from a coalition perspective, our position has been, speaking strictly from a benefit perspective, the money, we just want benefits to be funded fully and completely as they should be. However, partners have recognized the pressure at the local level. So I'll have them weigh in specifically on what they see and what they come up against with the downshifting of costs that's happened over the past decade, and why that legislation is important from their perspective.
Casey, I'd be happy to address that
Great,
a little
thanks,
bit in terms of school administration and school districts. The downshifting of costs at the state level for a variety of things. In addition to the downshifting of retirement, which has to be absorbed by the local taxpayers, there are a whole variety of legislative initiatives, very well intended, that have financial ramifications at the local level. And so with the retirement system, with the state not absorbing any of the retirement system cost, every decision that gets pushed down to the local level has a direct tax impact on local taxpayers. So the idea that we can keep property taxes low and continue to downshift state level costs to local property taxpayers is probably not a realistic thought. So the state absorbing some of that cost benefit is important moving forward. And we hope that even at the 5% level, it's something. It's some level of property tax relief shared and spread throughout the state.
Great, thanks, Jerry. Anyone else want to weigh in on that? Just keeping an eye on the time. I want to keep us to the 8:45 mark, but happy to take a few more remarks on that, if anybody'd like to weigh in. Okay, great. It being 8:45, I know we weren't able to get to everybody's questions, so I will follow up directly with some of that. I know some folks were looking for some information, but we just want to take this opportunity again to thank you all for joining us this morning. Thank you all for what you're doing in the legislature this year. Please know you can follow up with us anytime with that information. Like I said, I'll email you all some follow-up documents that may be helpful to expand on some of these issues, as well as answer some of the questions we weren't able to get to this morning. But with that, thank you all so much for joining us this morning.